backpacking tips and lessons. Never travel alone. The most important thing you could do when preparing to enter or setting off for the backcountry is to practice the buddy system. Traveling into the wilderness alone is one of the worst things you can do. It is important that people not only know where you are, but are there for you and with you. Traveling with someone isn't just a suggestion to keep you company, but to keep you safe. Know your route. Having a good understanding of where you're going and how you're going to get there is the next step before setting off into the great outdoors. Having access to a good physical map will help you understand where you are no matter what your access is to the internet or electricity. Also, it is advisable to familiarize yourself with using a compass and practice your orientation skills so you're not trying to decipher your bearings for the first time on the trail. Something to remember as well is the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. You can practice navigating your neighborhood or a park with a map and compass if you need the practice. Quality footwear. If you ask any seasoned backpacker, it's likely they'll tell you their greatest fear, next to getting lost, is acquiring any sort of foot or ankle injury or having wet boots. Now, at first glance, these may seem minor in comparison to everything else that may happen out there, but impacting your ability to travel on foot will cut you short of everything you may set out to accomplish. Also, it should be mentioned that having quality footwear includes having proper ankle support, avoiding sprains or worse, waterproof, not water-resistant, material, and the necessary equipment for hot spots and blisters. A small package of moleskin or sock liners will go a long way in protecting your feet and making your trek an enjoyable one. Practice packing only what you need. After sorting away your map, hiking partner, and boots, you should next ask yourself, what do I want, what do I need, and what is essential? Going down this line of questioning will help you shed the unnecessary bulk. If you intend on backpacking or through hiking for a few days or weeks, every ounce will count. A day hike will require much different gear than a week-long expedition. Assuming you're backpacking for a few days, when you start, your pack will be at its heaviest. This is likely because you are bringing in your food, and with every day, a meal will be eaten. That is to say, anything that won't be eaten will be carried with you until the very end. If you intend on going on a long through hike, consider doing a practice trip to see what is necessary and what isn't. Fancy gizmos and gear aren't always what's best. Bring what works for you and what is essential. Extra chlorine tablets or a way to purify water. Bringing forth the essentials, we should start with your food and water. It's always a good idea to have alternative means of acquiring water even if you plan on having access to a purified source. Sometimes wells go dry and areas go through droughts. I always pack a few weeks' worth of chlorine tablets and an extra filter for a hand pump. These typically weigh very little and can literally save your life. Proper backpack fitted to your frame. Having a proper backpacking backpack that is fitted to your hips and frame will make a grueling death march on the trail become one of comfort and ease. You can go to nearly any outfitting store and have them fit a backpack to your needs and size. The idea is to have the pack with all of your gear loaded on your hips rather than your back, neck, or legs. If you have a backpacking backpack, consider going to a wilderness store to have it fitted. I had mine fitted almost 10 years ago and haven't had to change it since. Basic fire starter. Next on the list of essential gear you may need is a basic way to start a fire. Sometimes, given the climate you're backpacking through, you may need a quick source for warmth, to boil water for drinking or rehydrating food, to dry clothing, or for a nice morale boost. Regardless, it is good to have a spare set of waterproof matches and some dry kindling. I would suggest steering away from lighters because at certain altitudes, fuel can burn faster and deplete your supply. Or if the fuel tank is crushed or pierced, it may leak and become useless. Normally, I carry a small stove for water and food, but always have some matches, just in case. Basic utility items. 1 knife and 1 pot. If you could only bring one item to a deserted island or into the wilderness, what would you bring? Maybe an unconventional answer, but I always tell people to bring a pot. Aluminum or titanium or some other light alloy. Next to that, I would suggest a knife or small axe of sorts. But why a pot? I heard you asking. Well, with a pot you can boil water, collect water by scooping or by digging to the water table, cook food, and, if it's metal, act as a makeshift knife or hammer. A pot can be a very handy utility item that you should always have with you in the wilderness. Wet and dry clothes. Packing trail clothes wet and camp clothes dry will turn a miserable slog into an enjoyable trek. Having a spare set of clothes to change into if the weather turns sour, or just to change out of after hours of hiking in, will help not only keep you dry and safe, but will also help with your trail morale. Light source. Having the option and ability to see at night could help with any night walks or just as a way to get your bearings. The last thing you want to do is trip on a route or step somewhere you shouldn't. Having a light source will mean that you can extend your productivity or help repair your gear while settling in for the night or early in the morning. HowExpert publishes how-to guides on all topics from A to Z by everyday experts. Visit howexpert.com to learn more.